Misfortune Games.
Alright, so it's been a while since I've done a video, and as you can tell, I had the time to finally set up the microphone I got. So, since I have a bit of free time, I thought, why not make a video? You know, just off the top of my head, I guess. I just wanted to do something a little different outside of the visual novel stuff that I've been working on. So, for this one, we're going to be using Mariah's ex Sarah, however you pronounce it, I don't know. Out of Touch's 2021-15, Kindred Arts, Forced Effects. It's part of the bundle, but did I buy the bundle? I think I did. Yeah. Anyway, so and then we're gonna do the Lost Temple. Thinking of doing some kind of nighttime-ish thing with like the fireflies or something in the air. You know, just kind of floating around, giving some light, and then maybe create some faux moonlight coming up from the sky somewhere over here in the corner. I don't know, did they even include a kind of a nighttime look? I guess they didn't. So I'm gonna go load up this scene, and I'm gonna bring in the figure, and then I'll resume the recording. Alright, so I got some clothes on just to get around Daz's nudity. So it's nothing special, just Out of Touch's mega wardrobe. Not sure if it's one or two, but those are the jeans, and then streetwear tank top just to throw something on, and that Out of Touch hair that I referenced at the beginning. So for that, we're gonna change the color real quick. It's gonna I'm just thinking dark blue, probably black. Kind of the same difference here, especially with how dark it's gonna be. Let me set up a camera real quick. Just gonna turn this off. Actually, while I'm in here, let's turn the skin up. The translucency. I think it was there you are. That is gonna fix the hair there. It looks like it's probably pretty good. A little darker, maybe. There we go. That's pretty good. It's still a little too bright for my liking. There we go. Something like that'll work. So head size will probably fix that, I'm guessing. It's like 5. Looks like it did it, from what I can tell. Yeah, looks alright. And nothing too special with this one, just not gonna do any kind of, I'm not gonna play with any morphs on this. Kind of base as is. Some Alright, so that looks pretty good. Let's see what our VRAM looks like once I bring this back up. Okay, do we got like a default thing going on here, I'm guessing. Yeah, alright, I think I know which one to use. Was it lights? I think it's lights. I had it, left it here, there it is. Basically, it's just a HDRI with like a white glow to represent the moon. And then draw on the dome, you can kind of see a little bit more going on there. Kind of see a little bit going on right there on her shoulder. So, just to see what we're doing right now, I'm going to turn on the exposure value. I just have some idea of what I'm doing. Where should I start? Maybe the pose. Let me go look for a pose real quick, just so you don't have to watch me search through a lot of poses. Alright, so this is the one I used here. I think it's like universal standing something on the desk store by Zedekiss. Alright, so got that kind of going now. Let's lack of shoes really doesn't matter here since you're not going to be seeing them. It'd just be a waste of VRAM. So, let's get rid of the side or tilt. I always feel like that's a better word for it. So I kind of need to figure out how I want to do this. So I'm going to zoom back a little bit. Maybe kind of go up at an angle like this, because we do want the lighting to kind of hit her in kind of a Rembrandt style. Although it's not going to look like this, obviously. Might have to play with the straps too, just to get them down. Not sure if I'm a fan of the color either. Anyway, so what I'm going to do for right now, I can always play with the framing later. Bring this arm down because it's the inherent side effect of the pose, which I'm not really using here. And so I kind of want her like reaching up and touching the fireflies, if that makes sense. Wait, do I have the right one? Yes, I do. So, no. Probably just be easier to do this with what you call it off. Library preview. Maybe I want it more to this side like this. We'll figure it out. Alright, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna bring the iRay preview back. There we go, and we're gonna turn this back up to, what was it, 13? I think it was the default. Yeah, it is. I'm gonna kind of turn that away a little bit, just because I don't want it directly on her. And then we're gonna start playing with the lighting a little bit. For now, I'm just gonna copy the camera. And this is the way I always keep this open, except when I'm rendering. I'll just go like that and leave it there. But I can go through here with the spotlight while keeping this on. Gives it kind of like a second camera to view it through. Depending on your graphics card, they can get a little more rough on your system. Oh, this mouse charger is being dumb. Right, there we go. Alright, so entrance to rectangle should work. So this is gonna be our main light source. Try. Kind of want maybe like a faux blue in there. Just start lower and work your way up. That's what I usually do. 200,000. Oops, wrong. Forgot a 0. That might be a little much. Let's try 175,000. Turn that shirt down a little bit. Let me do. No, did I hit the wrong one? Yes, I did. So we're gonna go. Let's go gray. I don't want to go completely black with it. I kind of want it to be in the image. Try to normal map down a little bit. It's kind of unnecessary. Maybe just turn it up a little bit so you can kind of faintly see it. And we'll see when there's more lighting in there. You know what, let's do black. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the spotlight. I'm gonna change the angle a little bit. So I'm just gonna do to 60 real quick. So I can see what I'm doing, kind of angle it as needed. So this is basically going to just create kind of the moonlight. It might be a little bit too bright, but you kind of still want to see it. especially when you're on different monitors, or you have people on different monitors looking at it. Gonna make it kind of rough. It catches pretty nice. Bring the shoulder in a little bit. Forearm. So I'm just gonna duplicate this spotlight. You know, it's not gonna do much. Actually, it doesn't look too bad. Might come back to that. Anyway, just gonna pretty much take everything back to the default. Kind of go a bit of a stronger angle here. Let me make this a little more white. Make this a little more blue. I'll come back to that. So I just put those two lights I made in a group just to keep it organized. So now we're starting to get some nice kind of reflections in there. Now back to that, was it, there we go. Kind of just want to grab one of these and kind of play around with it and see what kind of effect we can kind of get from it. It seems like there's an awful lot of them. So, let me try this one. Which way is it pointing though? So, which way are you pointing? Okay, I get the feeling if I do turn it in either direction though, it'll be a lot harder to see. Okay, there we go. So 90 was about right then. So, okay, the base color, that's what I figured. A little like light blue here. And then kind of do the same with this, except maybe go a little deeper. So it's kind of emitting a similar kind of color to the moonlight up there. Let's try 5,000. Okay, it's a little too green, maybe. At least that one there. Also not liking. Okay, it's a little better. Wasn't really liking though that pseudo firefly shape. And maybe do another one behind her. So I might put a ghost light just to kind of rim her back here. Alright, let's bring the perspective view back here real quick. Make that a little lower just because it's further away. And maybe do another one back over here. I'm still not really sure about there. Not really sure what I want to do. Might do some stars up in here in post, just to kind of give it that kind of look, for lack of a better word. Oh, it's worth a shot. Maybe make it a little more blue just to kind of stand out against it. Oh, that's right. Gotta the light itself. Back to 55. And then we're gonna duplicate another one. And bring it way over there in the corner just so it can hide. A little too far out. Is that what it is? I'm just gonna do one more. I think I might move some more of those over there. Might be overkill. Guess we'll find out. We're just gonna duplicate those. Scoot them over. Too far? Probably. So rotate those. Alright, let's group these all out. It's kind of a little messy. Let's do a ghost lights. Ghost lights. Alright, so what we might want to do now is make a bit of a rim. See how we can kind of make that and still make it look natural. Like what we got going on here, but for the hand. Maybe a little bit more right here too. Maybe kind of very faintly illuminate the lower part of her torso. Quote unquote torso. Alright, maybe a bit of a fill, we'll see. Alright, let me save this real quick and then be right back. Alright, so I got it saved. Everything's kind of baking pretty well right now. So let's start with this on the arm here. Let's just that's why it looks so weird. Okay. Makes a bit more sense. Alright, so you kind of want to follow these little fireflies here. The reason you're seeing it so strongly right now is because it's on a point. Excuse me. You notice when you go to rectangle, it's going to become a lot softer. It's still noticeable, and that's a problem, but kind of get a similar tone to them, to these, so kind of match that. This isn't super necessary either, so I might not even finish this part of it. Just try an 800, not 8,000. So I might want to. You just kind of want to avoid her face as much as possible without like overblowing it like this, for example. In this case, we can get a little lighter. It doesn't seem to be affecting the face too much, at least from what I can see. Go to this side a little further. Maybe a little sharper. Cut that down by like 30%. I'm gonna let this bake for a second, and I'll be right back once it's looking a little more normal. Alright, so I did move it a little bit more, just to the to her left, or to her right, your left, and just made it a little bit sharper. I want to you don't really want it wrapping so much around the arms because it's not really at that point. So let's just call this our arm light. Doesn't really matter. Call it whatever you want. I'm just gonna copy this one. Grab that, and then we're gonna kind of come up here. Just a little too much. Let's try to bring that down a little more. Still just a little bit too bright. We just kind of want it faint from this angle. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. It's just enough to kind of like show that what's there. Maybe go up a little bit more, maybe 50. But I'll come back to that. So let's just call this let's call it budget rim. It's not really a rim light, but it kind of acts like one. And then we're gonna try just maybe illuminating this side a little bit now. I'll probably end up deleting this one, honestly, but let's see. So we're probably gonna want to just, make it look sort of reflective, like who knows what's coming off the ground here. A rectangle. Try like 50-50. It's just enough to kind of illuminate her left side, so it's just not pitch black like it was. That's kind of the whole idea behind a fill light, you know? It's like you want it there, but you don't want it noticed either. Yeah, it looks alright for sure. I don't know, maybe. We'll see. I'm kind of liking the dark look around it, so we'll see. We'll leave that as is for now. I don't know, so kind of just want to illuminate down here a little bit in her like rib cage, abdomen. So let's copy this one. I'm gonna turn it on, and then we're gonna just come down here. There we go. Nah, let's just get rid of that one. Alright, so, now we're about done. Kind of a simple one, but looks pretty good. So I'm gonna play with depth of field maybe a little bit. They might have a nice effect. Perspective view. Make sure everything looks, how to say. Looks pretty good. I'm gonna clear out some of these brighter ones in post, I think, though. Specifically these down here. Maybe kind of fade these a little bit. Give this one last look. I don't think I'm really a fan of it here. I might end up rendering both, but we'll see. For now, I just wanna I'll kind of give into the little wonder of it, I guess. Maybe like 4.5. And I'll let this bake and we'll see how it looks in a minute or so. Alright, be right back. Alright, so I think that's good enough to now to get the idea across. I did up the skin detail on the surfaces on the chest and arms and face. It was mostly just in the detail map, just kind of give some extra detail to the pores. I might turn it back down on the arms, though. I think just based on the preview, it looks a little high. I also brought the hair down some. Back right there, and then right there, just with the behind the shoulder morph thing for the hair. Right here. Well, only for the right side, just because it's there. I could probably use a little more, I thought. Anyway, it looks good enough at this point. I'd be happy with just the hair being up a little bit. So, one more little thing I should probably do here is, a breast helper by a sickle yield. Gonna have to censor that. Thanks, Des. Strap. Oh, they only have a strap lifter. I thought they had a yeah, it's only a lifter. Probably does need a little bit on the lower side. Like 12. But yeah, that about does it for this one. Like I said, I could probably apply a clothing fit and kind of fix the straps, but it's really not worth it for this. So yeah, like I said, that's about.
More often at this point, at least with my own visual novels. So they might have to be one-offs like this, and might just be continuations of others and certain scenes in the visual novel and so forth. So yeah, until the next one.
Okay, so I just did the regular render without the fill light coming through if you even want to call it a fill light. So now that it's all rendered out, we can do some post work. Just drag it in here. Alright, to start, I'm just gonna duplicate the base layers to have a backup, even though I have it sitting in another folder. So basically, just need to hit Control J. You can also do it by going to Edit and. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure how you would do it. It's been a while since I've used a regular method. Whatever, not that big of a deal. Okay, so usually I start with just going to the camera raw filter. But first, for this, I'm just gonna make some base layers first. So start with our just our burn and dodge layer. So it's for like highlights and shadows if I need them. So I'm just gonna do oops. By the way, I'm hitting Control Shift N to create a new layer. Totally forgot about the last part of this. So we're gonna go to Overlay, and then we're gonna hit this, and that's gonna fill it at 50% gray, but you can't see it because it's 50% gray. Anyway, so that's for that, and then I'm gonna do it again, and this is just for like the real shiny parts where you have like some, some level of glossiness. So for this one, I'm gonna do a Control Shift N. I'm gonna do this same thing. Let's go Overlay, but don't check this. So now I'm going to select this copy and turn this off. Do a BU for backup. Go to Filter, Camera Filter. We're going to just do Control Shift A. That's usually what I do. What this is going to do is it's going to open up this panel here where you can adjust things, curves, which could be useful if you're knowledgeable in curves. Makes life easy. But I generally just stick with usually just what was it, the optics if I need like a vignette. I don't know where my English went there. But yeah, I usually just stick with this up here, the basic. The temperature is basically exactly how it sounds. In this case, I'm thinking about just leaning towards the more the cool side, just giving the ambient color of it. Although going more of an orange color might, nah. It could work depending on the mood you're after. Maybe a little more. Let's go back to like maybe -5. I'm just hitting this down here as toggle, so we can go back and forth between the original and this, and the adjustments. So an exposure, again, maybe a little brighter, darker. I think we might leave that as is though. You go down a little bit. Again, contrast, pretty self-explanatory. It's gonna just enhance the lights here and darken the dark spots. But yeah, we're just gonna leave that one alone, I think. Now, highlights, again, this will take away the highlights or add to the highlights. Again, not really a tutorial, I guess. Anyway, I'm gonna play it safe, just do a little bit here. I still have to do some editing with burning and dodging. Get rid of some of this down here. Might leave shadows alone. I'll go just match that. Okay, whites, pretty self-explanatory. Two or three, barely noticeable, but go with, oh, did not mean to do that. I think -4, 3. Now again, this is where it gets kind of important. You don't want to overdo it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna zoom in here. Where is my zoom at? So where is the toolbar? Anyway, so this can bring out a lot of texture if you use it right. I usually just go like 13, 10 to 15 is usually the sweet spot for me. And color, I usually stick around 8, or clarity, not color, excuse me. Anti-haze, I don't really ever touch. I can do create some nice effects when you do need it, but let's go back to 0 on that. So as far as this goes, I think that's about it. I'm kind of like in that natural tone a little more. So I'm gonna start with this layer here. This is just for like the brightest points, the fingers, her chest, maybe a little over here, or the hair, kind of the cheekbone, the forehead. Might brighten up the eyes a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a soft brush, or just regular brush. Doesn't really matter. So just grab any of these. They're all the same basically. What matters is that it's soft. And then your opacity, you're gonna want to turn that down, 10 to 14%. Usually do the trick. I usually just stick around 11. It's a pretty good sweet spot. And you're gonna want to turn this white. So I can zoom in. Start with the start with the cheekbone here. I'm hitting the left bracket key to just trim these to make this bigger and smaller. A little smaller there. And I tend to hit the P key pretty often, so you just hit O to go back to that. Or not O, excuse me, B for brush. Again, you know, like a single click will usually do the trick. Just kind of want to highlight where the highlights are. Which is why the fundamental lighting in DAZ is so important. Because if it's done well in DAZ, you don't really have a whole lot of work to do in post. Just a lot of touch-ups and stuff like that. Again, just the brightest points. You don't need to do the whole thing like this. You can see there's a lot of noise in there, but it's not really noticeable from far away. Might want to get rid of that too. Looks like pretty good for the face. You can zoom in on the eye here too if we want. Kind of brighten it a little bit. It's kind of easy to go overboard here, so. Again, just kind of the brightest points. Just do the fingers up here. Sorry for the dog barking. Again, we don't want to do this whole line here. You can save that for the dodge and burn. Again, you just want to get the brightest points here. 1 or 2 clicks should do the trick. Actually, leave those as is. Pretty fine. And also zoom out every once in a while to make sure everything's looking alright and you didn't go a little too overboard. You can always layer mask it if you need to. and then just create another layer and kind of redo it. It would be the quickest way, at least. Maybe kind of do a little bit up here on the neck, on the chest. And just do kind of one little one right here. On the arm here, you just want to kind of do it on the highest points, since so they're just going to be more noticeable. On the shoulder there. And the hair, it's more optional than it's not. Again, you kind of just want to do the highlights. Just follow the highlights that the light's already creating. You can be a little more liberal here though when doing it. So again, the length, you want to be a little more careful here than I was up there. Just kind of follow the brightest lights, you know, the layers of the hair that are closest to the light. You just kind of want to highlight some. Again, pretty easy to go overkill, so have Control Z ready, or whatever your shortcut is for undo. Kind of trace that line a little bit. Now, I'm doing this with a mouse. A tablet's going to make your life a lot easier as far as some of this goes. Though I'm sure if you have a tablet, you're probably skipping that. You're probably skipping this part. Alright, so now we can select this layer here. I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna do burn. I usually just stick on midtones and around 12%. Other than that, you can pretty much do what you want with it. You can get some pretty interesting effects by using these shaped brushes. These shaped brushes, or brushes that resemble something, but not really doing anything like that in this case. So again, I'm just sticking with this soft. Where to start? So there's not a whole lot of shadowing work that needs to be done here, but just for the sake of effect, I usually use it more for blending, like right here, for example, the hair. I don't want to blend the dark. You want to blend it into the darkness, so you want to go kind of go overboard with it. Kind of go under the hair. Again, just kind of follow the lights and shadows that are already there. what I'm doing right here is just kind of highlighting the lights that are already there by darkening what's around them. Nose might be a little red, but you can always kind of desaturate that if you need to. Alright, I'm gonna go to the dodge tool. Pretty much the same settings up here. A little smaller than needed, but so I'm gonna go back to the burning or shadowing, whatever you want to call it, in a minute here. I'm just kind of going over the base highlights that I didn't touch with on this layer. So just kind of keep an eye on where your highlights were and try to avoid them. It's kind of really that simple. So again, just kind of, try and trace your lighting. That's already there. Just know where your bright spots are. Go here. Even kind of go over this here if you want to. So I'm gonna leave it as is. So I kind of go over the arm here. Be a little more liberal right here since there's a fair light source kind of coming. Excuse me. So again, your bright spot's right here. So I'm gonna kind of go around it where needed. Again, if it doesn't need it, don't do it. Kind of that simple. I'm just accenting the light that's already there. Just gives it a little more oomph, even if it's not completely natural. And this part's a little trickier. A lot of this part of this face here is covered. So be a little less liberal if you need to. Sorry for the dog barking, if you can hear that. We can kind of go over the hair here. Specifically right here. Since the dominant lighting is coming from right there. The dominant light source. Kind of go around under the eye here too a little bit. I want to go over this darker part so it's not so, the gradation's not so sudden. Yeah, probably could have went over there with the other, on that other layer, but not that big of a deal. like I said, kind of a little too red here. Kind of have to do the neck still, I believe. Okay, so before I go back to the burning, I'm just gonna go to sponge here, desaturate. This right here is something I have to play around with. And it's just, it depends on what you need. So right here, I'm gonna go to the actual layer. Just gonna kind of click, I'm gonna click on these red spots, or reddish spots. Just gonna kind of take the red out of them, you know, once or twice. You don't need 5 or 10. Just until it looks right, especially from a distance, it's easier to tell. Looks pretty good. Good enough. And there's a little bit on the fingernail here, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure if it's from that or not, but kind of stands out. And I always kind of go in here with a very faint black layer, which I still might do. We'll see. Probably not gonna be super noticeable, especially all down like that. Alright, so now I'm gonna go back to this real quick. I'm just gonna get this elbow here. Kind of get these little smaller spots now. Okay, so now I'm gonna grab the burn, stay on that layer. Now, if you feel better separating these, you can. This is just the way I do it, way I'm used to. And you can always, if you feel like it's too much, but you like how it's done, you can always just lower the opacity. See, so I can put it like 69, for example. I am not sure where that's coming from. And some kind of truck or something in the background. Maybe a motorcycle. I don't know. Anyway. So yeah, so it's a lot more subtle. Whereas if I brought this back up, it'd be a lot deeper. But that's the way I did it on purpose. So I'm gonna leave it that way. But again, that's always an option. Alright, so now I'm gonna start focusing on the shadows. Kind of a benefit of working with 4K stuff here is that you can get a lot closer with a lot more detail. Yeah, it's a lot easier to lay those shadows in. I'm gonna have to come back here with that desaturation. Where's my finger at? There it is. Alright. So just kind of follow the natural shadows. It's probably one of the more simple parts of this. Especially for someone who's somewhat experienced in Photoshop. Now, I'm not sure how much of this translates to GIMP. I've used GIMP once and I hated it, so I can't really speak to it. Maybe that's because I've only ever used Photoshop and none of its quote-unquote competition. So just following the natural shadows that are there. And with stuff like this, you just kind of want to be smooth about it. So just kind of lay in just softly there with a click or two on each spot, for lack of a better word. Forgot the shirt. I'll have to go back to that. Anyway, so I'm just gonna kind of lay in the shadows where needed. And be kind of subtle about it if you need it. Maybe need to lay some in there like that. Kind of a hard line, so I want to get rid of that. Now, it'll be kind of the tricky part here. It's kind of going in under the hair. Again, I'm kind of going over. I'm going a little overboard here, just for the sake of showing. Like in a visual novel way, this is not recommended because, again, I've already been here close to a half hour doing this. I'm just showing it off because it's a one-off. But usually you're just gonna kind of want to go and do the highlights and the shadows and play with the camera raw and save the settings for the camera raw for the same scenes, so you don't have to keep doing it manually every time. Alright, got the lip there. Again, you don't want it to be super hard. Kind of lay it in where needed. Alright, so I'm gonna grab the dodge tool again here and just kind of go around the shirt. Just kind of catching the highlights again. Again, just kind of make the brightest parts or the highest points brighter than the rest. That's going to create a level of dimension. Kind of as it's getting darker around the bend, for lack of a better word here. So this is your highest point, so it's kind of going around here now. Just kind of want to darken it a little more, fade into the brightest point, make it look more natural. So, see, just kind of a basic run across there. Okay, so now that we're done with that, I'm just going to do a couple little things, like right here. Now, there's two ways you usually go about this. You got your spot healing brush tool. Typically the easiest, again, so you want to be on this layer and you want to have it rasterized or convert it into a smart object. I don't really play around with the whole smart object stuff, but so excuse my ignorance if I'm wrong about that, but see, that usually does the trick pretty well, especially when it's from a distance. Just kind of go over it like that. Again, you might want to use a softer brush here. Kind of turn that down. Again, kind of want to get rid of this one. Might take a couple strokes to get it over. Yeah, you know, gone. Whatever you want to call it. That one too. Let me zoom out, see what I'm doing here. Just for another example, you can take your just your regular lasso tool. And make sure your layer is still selected. And I believe this is only for like newer versions of Photoshop, but you can take like, you know, this one over here, for example, and just draw your lasso around it. Doesn't have to be any normal shape. Just do content aware fill. What it's do is and what it does, it just gets rid of it like that. It works the same way, I'm sure, as the spot healing brush tool. Do Control D to deselect that. I want to get rid of some of these brighter ones. I suppose you could also just, you know, dull them down a little bit if needed. I like too many bright ones close to each other. You can just kind of match the size. Just kind of burn them, see if that works a little bit. I mean, you might just be better off depending on what you're doing. Oops, wrong layer. So yeah, I just felt like there's too many of these, just kind of too close. Especially the brighter ones. I'm trying to keep away from that one. So now what I want to do is just get rid of this one right here, this right there. I'm just gonna create another layer. Let's call this. So I'm just gonna create a new empty layer, and I think what I'm gonna do for this is just go black. Might take you a few tries. But since it's so dark otherwise, you're not going to be really noticing it. So, you know, getting this zoomed in is an easy way to tell what's being painted and what's not, because it's like where that blue stops here in this case. Zoom out a little bit, but... what really matters here is the kind of the brightest blues. The dark ones aren't going to be noticeable from that far away. And you can kind of zoom out. You can kind of lower the opacity a little bit, give it a bit more of a fade into it. So now that we're almost done, and you kind of start doing some fine touches, you know, some of the finer touches down here, like down here, you might want to make that a little brighter. Oops, wrong layer. You know, just kind of follow the lights again. You know, kind of try and make a pattern out of it: light, dark, light, light, dark, light, dark, light. And kind of do the same for the darker parts if you want. You don't really have to. It has a lot of visual dynamic in places when it's used right. And now you can start doing like little finishing touches if you want. Play with the color balance maybe. Maybe you want a little more kind of cyan in there. Maybe throw in some reds. It's up to you, you know, the mood, vibe. Usually something like I'll usually use something like this and then kind of lower the opacity until it's pretty close to what it was, but still has that hint. I usually go with the color theme at that too. So since this is a pretty heavily blue, it's not really much, probably like 30, 31. Probably a little much now. You just kind of want it in there vaguely, but not too much. And it just really depends on the look you're after at the end of the day. So, go like maybe hue saturation, for example. You do a little bit of lightness and kind of give it that kind of faded look, if you're into that. And you could go and kind of keep that look and then bring a brightness contrast adjustment layer in, put it under that, and then just kind of play with the contrast until you get a look you like. And so I'm not going to personally do that for this one, because I do like the clarity of it. But that about covers it for this one. I'm trying to do these more often from now on, so don't go months at a time with a video here and there. Even though they're kind of hard to fit in between all the rendering I'm doing between my main project and the one I've been working on. So yeah, if there's any criticism, I mean, let me know about the audio, because I'm not really super sure about how I should be editing that. Let me know if it's too loud, too low, too muffled. Anything really works. Just not super sure because I've never played around too much with audio. And if you've watched this far, it's a pretty long video. I'm sure probably close to 2 hours. Maybe less by the time I edit it, but it's probably pretty close to this. Alright, and put a watermark on here and I'll start editing it in Premiere. That'll be that. It'll be uploaded.